Dr. Katie Henry. And today I'm interviewing myself. I'm not really interviewing myself, but I am here to teach you guys today from me and my perspective and my story. So I hope that me sharing with you allows you to, number one, get to know me a little bit better, because I know some of you, but others I don't. And also, this is my time to teach you, and I hope that this serves you. So how did I end up doing what I'm doing now? My journey is an interesting one, but as a lot of the speakers have been sharing with everybody, I am doing the work that I'm doing because of the experiences that I've had in my life. I believe that everything happens for a reason, and everything that has happened in my life has led me to be exactly where I am and doing what I'm doing for my work. So I've always been a person who gives to others. I do it without even thinking. I'm the oldest of all of my siblings, all of my cousins, and I've always been a caregiver. I was very protective. My nickname when I was, I think, like 7 was Mother Hen. My last name's Henry, and it was always making sure everyone else is okay. And that worked out great for me in my whole life. I also was a very ambitious type A go-getter, and I would set a goal and achieve it. I played college volleyball. I got into Duke for my graduate program to get my doctorate in physical therapy. I got the best job at the Rehab Institute here in Chicago and had this amazing career. And, my family life looked great. My friends, my relationships, all of it. It was like, on the outside, I was like, wow, she's got it all together. But I never felt like I did. I, again, was doing work I loved. I was helping, healing, and caring for other people day in and day out. I was the friend, and I still am. I'm saying was, but this is where I was at a few years ago. I, was the person that if something bad happened, they called me and I was able to help and fix the situation. Anytime anyone in my family needed something, my siblings, I did what I could to help. Same thing with my parents. I always was there for other people. It's part of who I am, and I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I found myself in a place that I was always exhausted. I was always sick. I thought I was pretty healthy. I was eating well, exercising a lot. I was, doing things that I thought were good for me. And I gave so much, and I cared so much about my work. I wanted to make sure my patients got better. I knew that I was performing miracles on a daily basis. I was working in a place that each day I could either teach a kid how to walk for the first time since this insane accident where, they had a crazy spinal cord injury or brain injury, or I would have to say to, a teenager whose life was just really starting, there is no function in your legs and you may never, ever walk again. So it was like extreme joy and extreme pain and sorrow. And I always put my patients first when it came from my work, from that work perspective. I did everything in my power to make sure they were okay. And for some reason, I thought I was the only person who could help them. I got amazing feedback from my boss, and it would be like, Katie, you're doing great. And so I said, okay, your patients are always asking to work with you. And I said, okay, well, that means I have to work all the time. I have to be here all the time. I'm going to tell you guys a sad truth. This past year was the first time in my professional career that I took a full week off of work. That's kind of messed up. I just felt this need that if I can't do it, who's going to be able to help these people? Which is kind of crazy, also slightly selfish, and really not what I was about, but it came from a place of, I want to do everything in my power to help heal and serve the people I work with. But in doing that, in giving so much of myself, I ended up suffering a lot. I started to look and think about my situation and just be like, why is this happening? I remember coming home from work one day and I got in a bike accident. A car hit me. I flipped over my bike and I ended up in a leg brace from like a knee immobilizer that initially I was like, I'm fine. I folded my bike up, shoved it in the trunk of a cab and went home and was like, I'm okay. I don't need any help. And then sat home, and after the adrenaline wore off, I tried to stand up and I couldn't. I had to call my brother and he had to take me to the ER. And after several hours of testing and examination, nothing major was broken, but I had to have a splint on my hand and wear a brace on my leg. And I still went to work the next day. My job was to teach people how to walk, and I couldn't walk myself. But I didn't listen. I didn't listen to my body. I kept going. And I said, no, I have to be here. I have to help. I have to help. And then I got the swine flu. And I remember waking up one morning just covered in sweat and just feeling awful. And I was like, I don't think I can go in today. And I just stayed home and slept. The next day I went to the doctor and she was like, you need to be quarantined to your room and you can't leave for at least a week. I had a fever of 105 degrees and my body was shutting down. And I tried to get back to work as soon as possible, but I wasn't allowed to go until I didn't have a fever. But I tried to, and I basically had to be told, no, Katie, you cannot show up today. I remember being at work one day when I had a student and feeling faint and dizzy and like, I just don't feel well, but I still showed up. And one of my coworkers like, Katie, you just need to go home. I'll tell our boss, like, just go home. And I got in the elevator and collapsed. My body was shutting down because I wasn't taking care of myself. But I still didn't listen. Eventually, I realized I needed to make a shift and a change in my job setting and that I was doing too much. And in that time, I also discovered yoga on a deeper level, which was something I had found in grad school. I did yoga teacher training, found meditation, and thought that would help. But again, there was still something off. I started a new job. That kind of went okay. I eventually started my own physical therapy practice. And, I was teaching yoga. I had my own practice. Things were great. I was in these great relationships. And then the guy that I thought I was going to marry looked at me and told me, I can't do this anymore. I think I'm in love with someone else. And I remember collapsing again. And I couldn't catch my breath. And this was a sensation that I had felt all the time, this like elephant crushing my chest. And I was like hyperventilating. I said, no. And I just went home and I was like, this can't be happening. This can't be happening. I woke up the next morning still feeling this anxiousness, which again, wasn't a feeling I had a lot. I was pretty calm and collected and had it together. And I remember that morning when I woke up, something my mom had told me in college when I had felt, just pressured with that test or whatever, volley big game coming up. And she would just say, you just go for a run, let it out. You kind of express yourself through movement and through your body. And which is why the funny thing about I became a physical therapist is that's how I work with people, is connecting through movement. So after I had this kind of same experience, I said, okay, I laced up my shoes. I went for a run. And as I felt each foot hit the pavement in this rhythmic pattern, it started to click. I started to realize that it wasn't the job, it wasn't the relationship, it wasn't the exercise, it wasn't the food, it wasn't any of that stuff. It was me. And as I was running along the lake in Chicago, I realized, oh my God, I've been running my whole life. I had been running from myself and my true feelings of how I really felt. And when I came back home from that run, I looked myself in the mirror and I said, you need to stop running. And that's when I felt like I could finally, for the first time, look myself in the eye. And I was like, I think I can start to love me for me. And that spiraled into the true transformation that I've had, got me deeper into a spiritual practice, spiritual understanding, diving into the work with the desire map, which is something I'd been doing, brought me to train as a coach, brought me to just connect deeper with myself so that I could show up as a better version of me for other people. And that's what inspired me to do the work that I'm doing now. And even to create this event that I have right now is I learned through my own experience and through my work that I am now doing with others that you cannot help or heal anyone else until you heal yourself. And that message has just flown through me so strongly. And the thing that I realized is that my whole life I was like, I should do this, I have to do that, I do whatever. And I was trying to do it for so many other people. And now I'm finally doing it for me and finally doing it for myself. And that is what I'm all about. And it is finding a connection with you and who you truly are and being okay with you so that you can show up in your life however you want. And that's different for each person. So at first I thought I could find that through, food and exercise and connecting in that way, but that wasn't enough. The way that I've found and connected deeper to myself is having faith and trust that I'm not alone and I don't have to do it all. So for every single one of you who's listening, who is a healthcare provider, who is a giver, who is a healer, who is a coach, who is a mother, who is a father, who honestly does anything for other people. You may have a similar personality trait to me, and I want you to hear that in order to do the work that you want to do in your career, but really to show up as the person that you want to be in your life, you have to make yourself a priority. It's not selfish. It is essential. It is so important. And the more you give to yourself, the more you're able to give to other people. It's so true. I remember, honestly, at first, I was such a hypocrite of this. I rolled my eyes and I was like, no way, this is not, no. It's true. It really, truly is true. So what I want to teach you today is how to make this shift from giving and giving and giving to everyone else and never giving to yourself. The first step is recognizing, but also acknowledging that you don't have to do it all. And I want you to really think about that and hear that. What would it mean to you if you could let go of having all the answers, of helping everyone else, of always having to do this feeling of these shoulds and the have tos and all that? Let that go. And part of that comes from, number one, I know for me, I needed to be humbled a little bit. People were going to be okay if I didn't show up. In my work as a physical therapist, my patients were going to be okay if I wasn't there for a day. They were going to be okay. They were in good hands. And you know what? Sometimes it's actually beneficial to have somebody else's perspective, right? You can learn and you can grow. And I've talked about this with other interviews, is if you're not growing and learning, you're not really truly living. So you can't do it all, and that's okay. But part of that acknowledgement of knowing that you don't have to do it all is having a little bit of faith. And that was really hard for me. I grew up very Catholic. I went to Catholic school for 12 years, and then I went to a Jesuit college. And I mean, it's a huge part of who I am. And as I got older, I started to question God and faith and all of that, and say, do I even believe this, or is it just something that has been ingrained in who I am? And what I've found is that I can practice my faith and my spirituality in a way that makes sense for me. And it doesn't have to be anything I should do and whatever. But I also realize that it's not that I have to know, I want to know that I have support. There is something higher than me that is, making sure I'm okay, that is there for me, that is supporting me and everyone else I work with, everyone else I interact with, every single person right now that is listening. You are not alone. And that's such a relief. And you don't have to do it all alone. And that's such a relief. And just think about how good that feels to let go of the pressure. I know that was a huge, huge piece for me. So it's number one, acknowledging that you don't have to do it all. Step two is having faith and trust and knowing that there is a higher being, a higher power outside of you, whatever you believe in. And it doesn't have to be a certain religion or faith or practice or whatever it is, whatever works for you. But believe that there is something outside of you that is making sure that you are okay. And the third step is getting real and honest with your feelings. This was the hardest thing for me, because my whole life until the past few years was, yeah, I'm okay, it's fine. Katie, is something bothering you? Nope, I'm good, I'm all good. And it was, have these feelings, ignore them, shove it down, shove it down, shove it down. I'm okay, I've got it all together, it's all good. Look at me, my life is perfect, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, as I told you through my story, I was suffering. I was running from who I really was because I wasn't acknowledging my feelings. It wasn't something that I talked about. It wasn't something that we really talked about in our family. And I've talked to my siblings and my parents about this now. And if you guys are listening, you know that we've had these conversations. Is for so long, I pushed those feelings aside. And now acknowledging how I feel and being honest with myself as how I feel is so liberating. Because what happens when you bottle it up and you shove it down and you shove it down, you just blow up for no reason. I would get in these dumb arguments and be just so bitchy sometimes. I remember losing it with my family. We were on a family vacation and I was like, why are we sitting still? Why aren't we doing anything? And I wasn't even making sense. And my family was like, Katie, we've been sitting here for 10 minutes. We're just trying to figure out what we want to do. But I had to know what was going on all the time. And I mean, looking back now, I was like, gosh, I was bitchy. I was crazy. Everything had to be so contained and I was so wound up. But it was because I wasn't being real and honest with myself and how I really truly felt. So if any of you who are listening can hear that and feel that, number one, again, you're not alone. A lot of people feel this way. But a lot of the times it's like, well, I can't express my feelings. It's not okay to do in my work environment. Or, oh my gosh, what are people going to think if I say how I truly feel? Or what is going to happen in this relationship if I'm honest with the person that I'm with? And oh my gosh, this is my significant other I've been with for years. If I'm really honest with them, what's going to happen? And for me, things changed, things shifted, but it allows you to connect deeper with yourself and form stronger relationships with people who are truly there for you. So this is a two-part thing. So you get honest with your feelings and how you feel, but the next part of that is communicating those feelings through assertiveness. So it's not being passive aggressive or being aggressive or being like, I'm mad, I'm pissed, girl, I'm going to take it out on you. No, that's aggression. Assertiveness is communicating your feelings honestly. And you can say it in a way that's not confrontational or combative. And you can say, you know what? Right now, I'm just feeling really frustrated. I don't know why. I just am. And I think that's a huge piece that was really hard for me and has been hard for people that I worked with, but is really important, is that you don't have to know why you're feeling that way, at least right away, but acknowledge how you're feeling and get honest with yourself and say, right now I am feeling X. And that's all you have to say. You don't have to explain it or whatever, but if you are constantly in these conversations that are say, I'm fine, it's okay, but the person that you're talking to, especially if it's a relationship, like a friend, a romantic relationship, anything like that, family member, they're going to know if something is really off, and you're going to know if something's really off. So even if you say, I'm okay, it's fine, they're going to know, and you're going to know that it's really not okay and it's really not fine. And here's the thing with our feelings, our emotions, our desires. This comes from something that I'm trained in through Danielle Laporte and the Desire Map, is when it comes to what we want and goals in our life, we're not chasing the goals and achieving X, Y, and Z, which is what I thought I was doing my whole life. You're chasing the feeling that achieving the goal will bring. So if you get more connected with your feelings, your desires, what you really truly want in your life, goals are going to happen, relationships are going to happen, things that you want to achieve will happen because you come from the feeling place. And that's really at your deepest core of who you are. That's what you want. You want to feel a certain way. You desire to feel a certain way. It's not getting a raise, getting a promotion, getting married, getting these X, Y, and Z things that you check off a box. And granted, as a type A person, that is how I lived my life. And I still do it sometimes. Like, I'm not saying I'm perfect in any way, shape, or form right now. But what I want you to know is that if you get real with how you're feeling and you say, I'm feeling this way, or I want to feel this way, it is a powerful shift because you're being honest, you're being true, you're being real, you're being your authentic self. And isn't that what we want to be? Don't we want to show up as the best version of us in our life, in our world? The more you can be connected with who you are, that's how you can be a healthier person. That's how you make smarter decisions with your food. That's how you do exercise that makes your body feel good because you're connected with you and who you are and how you want to feel. That's when you can have relationships that you desire, that you want. That's when you can start to take care of yourself and practice self-care and practice self-love. And that's when you can have more meaningful relationships with other people in your life. That's when you can do the job that you want to do. And do you see what I'm saying? How it can snowball into so many other things, but it's getting real and honest with yourself and how you want to feel and how you want to show up. So far, just to review, we're aware that we need to do things differently. We're recognizing that we're not alone and that we are having faith and trust in that. The next step is we're getting real and honest with how we feel. Step 4 is communicating it with assertiveness and saying, honestly, I feel X. And not, coming across with passive aggressiveness or, I used to write bitchy passive aggressive notes to my roommates and being like, so great of you to do the dishes. Don't worry, I put everything away. And just little things like that. Like, thanks so much for doing. I mean, I thought I was a good person and I am a good person. It's like, why did I come across that way? That's not me being myself at all. So it's not being passive aggressive. It's not being aggressive. It's just being assertive. And what assertiveness is just being honest with how you feel. And the last step to really making this shift is setting boundaries. And that means saying yes to you and no to other people. It's not being a people pleaser and saying yes to everything. I can do it. I've got it. Da-da. I mean, you guys, I did this all the time. I still find myself doing this. When you do say yes to everybody else and no to yourself, again, you aren't being true to you and who you are and how you want to feel. And it's not easy. I know it's not easy, especially if this has been your personality and how you are your whole life. Again, you guys, I am there. I'm still a work in progress. I'm still working on this. But making these steps and making these shifts can be a huge transformation for you of being someone who does so much for everyone else and starts doing things for you and for yourself. And one thing I want to really close with is, how do you know what you want and how you want to feel? Because if you're somebody who pushes aside your feelings and your emotions, or bottles them up and then things burst and explode for no reason, you might not even know what you want or how you want to feel. For me, for a long time, I was like, I just want to feel good. I just want to feel happy. But what it takes is really being honest with yourself. And this is where I find journaling comes in and is really powerful. And this is why I do the desire map process with people. And you really dig deep and you get through, like, what do you really want? So I'm going to ask you guys a few questions. And I want you to, if you can, and if you desire, or if this feels right, write down these answers and just see what happens. So it's really a few questions. How do I want to feel? And if you don't know, you can say, I don't know. Or, you just may, I want to feel healthier. I want to feel more confident. I want to feel sexy. I want to feel joy. I want to feel bliss. Just without any judgment, just start writing these feelings down. Let it go. Let it come out of you and just let it flow. Words, just write. Set a timer for like 2 minutes and just write it all out. And then don't look at that page, flip it over. And then you're going to divide your paper into 2 sides. So one side will say gratitude. The other side will say what's not working. So on the gratitude side, I want you to write out what you're grateful for in your life. And really think about this, because no matter how terrible things may seem or feel or look like in your life, there is still something you can be grateful for. So start writing off things, people, experiences, jobs, animals, pets, certain foods you love, whatever it is. Write out what you're grateful for and why. And just start to, again, 2 to 3 minute timer, flow, stream of consciousness. What comes up for you? What are you grateful for and why? And then after you do that, go to the other side. And again, this is being honest with yourself. What's not working? What's not working in your life? It can be relationships. It can be your, certain diets that you've tried, exercises you've tried, job, anything that's bothering you that you're just like, oh, this is not good. Write it out and then you can just release it and let it go. It's so powerful to just let it go. And one thing that might not be serving you is this need to do so much for everyone else. And just let that go. Write it out and say, I don't need to do this all the time, right? So let it go. So asking yourself those 3 questions, how do I want to feel? Writing it out. Flip your paper over. What's working for me? What's not working for me? You write all of that stuff out. You look at it and then you let it sit and you come back to it the next day, 24 hours, 48 hours later, and say, okay, looking at all this stuff, how do I really want to feel? What do you really desire? What do you really want in your life? And then you can look at the words you wrote and say, okay, maybe where I started was, I want to feel healthy. I want to feel happy. But what you really want to feel is like freedom, bliss, joy. And you want to go to a deeper feeling that you feel it and you kind of go, oh, it kind of takes your breath away. And you have to keep digging until you get that sensation and that feeling. And that's what it really is listening to your body and tuning in. And this discussion will come up a lot this week, guys, by the way, but is listening to how you really want to feel. And then that is how you find what your core desired feelings are. And that's what you really want deeper on your soul level. And then what I do is I ask myself a question every day. How do I want to feel today? And this, my words for this year are magic, joy, connection, and ease. And when I say those 4 words, I just feel like, oh, I want to feel joy and I want to feel excited. But at the same time, I want to just be like, oh, let it be easy, right? Because it doesn't need to be so hard. And again, this is a practice. This is something you do on a daily basis. Like I said, you guys, this is a question I ask myself every day and I write it down in my journal. But this question can take 2 seconds to ask yourself. You can set it as a timer on your phone, pop up, multiple times throughout the day. How do you want to feel? And you ask yourself and you get honest with yourself. So in summary, how can you shift? You become aware that you want to make a shift. You want to make a change in your life. Step 2 is recognizing, acknowledging, and trusting that you're not alone and that there is something higher than you that is there for you to help you, support you, and love you. Step 3 is getting real and honest with how you want to feel. And that exercise I just gave you is a way you can do that. Step 4 is communicating assertively and being honest with those feelings and saying, I want to feel this way, or right now I'm feeling X. And then the last step to really making a shift for being a person who puts other people first and not yourself is to set boundaries, say no, and say yes to yourself. I'm not saying these things are easy at all, you guys. And it's a constant practice. But the more you acknowledge these steps, and you may be stuck in that first step for a long time, and that's okay. It's recognizing it and acknowledging it. And honestly, you guys have all done step 1 by listening to this. So let's move on to step 2 and have some trust and faith. I have a gift for you. And right below this video, it is a meditation that I'm going to guide you through to connect to how you really want to feel, but connect to it in your body with all different senses. Because I'm a person that has a really hard time like visually seeing things, but I can feel it in my body. But other people can visualize things really well. So what I'm going to do is help you go to that feeling that you want and give you a lot of different sensory experiences so that you can connect to it on yourself. So you're going to get that. You're going to be able to download it, save it, use it whenever you want, whenever you need, and you'll know when you need it, you'll feel it, and it's going to help you connect deeper to the exercise I gave you earlier. So I hope this has served all of you, and I am so excited you're here. I'm so grateful for you. I am Dr. Katie Henry, and I cannot wait to see the transformations you are making in your life. And I'm thrilled and honored to be on this journey with you. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you soon. Bye.